Right. Hi, and welcome to Flip It and Rebuild It, the podcast for people who want to discover the keys to unlock their full potential and to build a strong foundation that will see them through even the most difficult storms of life. I'm Stephen.
And I'm Susan, and each of us has overcome challenges that could have destroyed us. Instead, we discovered the secrets to inner peace, and we're here with you today to share them with you too.
Awesome.
I want to reword some of that.
We'll do that another time.
Yeah, I don't like that part. I don't like the last sentence.
Well, you work on that before Sunday.
Okay.
And then we'll do that Sunday.
So just add it in.
Welcome to season 2. And what are we talking about this season?
This season is all about relationships.
I know, this is going to be interesting. And what we're talking about today are relationships.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I honestly think that in relationships is the best place to propel your growth. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, friendships, every kind of intimate relationship. And I'm talking about intimate, like you open yourself up, you're honest, you show every part of you. I think I've grown more from that than anything in my life. So I'm super excited to talk about this.
You mean the shit relationships?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's where all the growth
the ones
is.
That really push us.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. They do push us. It's like holding up a mirror. You're faced with all your fears and your insecurities and all the things you did wrong in the past. And it's your opportunity to face those things instead of run from them and grow from it.
So, okay, let's get down and let's talk about our relationships.
Okay.
That's this episode. Let's just share some of the things that we've never shared with anybody.
Oh yeah, so they know where we're coming from.
Around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where do I start in my relationships? I've had lots. And they've ranged from the relationship at school where I've asked somebody else to ask the girl out and never spoke to them while I was going out with them. That kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Up until we were dating, no problem. When we were dating, I couldn't even talk to them.
Yeah.
Right through to even school, I had a couple of long-term nice relationships. But yeah, my God, my relationships have varied so much.
Oh, mine have too. Oh my goodness.
So let's share our first puppy love then. Tell me about yours. When was your first real, where your heart really, when you had those butterflies in your stomach and
high
you couldn't wait
school.
to see them?
High school. And it wasn't the first guy that I dated, but I guess it was maybe the third guy I dated. I don't know, but we dated for a couple years and he was like my high school sweetheart. And we talked about the future and we talked about getting married and all that stuff. And then we went through a hard time. He decided to join the Navy and he thought the best thing to do was break up with me first because it would be too hard. And so we didn't talk for a long time. And then after he was gone for 6 months, he, out on a boat at sea, he was like, what am I doing? That was stupid, and reached out to me and we got together. And the next day he asked me to marry him. And then a few hours later, he calls me up and he's like, well, if we're going to get married, you have to change to my religion. My grandma thinks it's really important. And my religion thinks it's very important. And I said no. I very quickly said no on the principle of the matter that, I didn't know how to explain it at the time, but it was my inner value saying, no, he's supposed to accept me the way I am and not want to change me. And that was my first love.
So it went from the dream, the rest of your life was going to be this blissful, lovely, amazing, to, oh my God, they want to change me and who I am to be something.
Yeah.
But my first love, and I don't know if it was my first love, but my first real long-term, I've got like 4 girlfriends in the back of my mind now saying, I thought I was.
Yeah.
So if I don't say a name,
Yeah, you don't have to say a name. Then they won't know, right?
they won't know, right? Yeah, apart from when I say how we split up.
Right.
But my first real love, the one that I had the most butterflies and all that with,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is not negating the others, but we were. I was at sixth form. She was a year below me,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell you how we met. Actually, we were in a arcade, and I was going around asking everybody for 10p, like
Mm-hmm.
10 cents, over there, and I seen her and she come in and I never met her before. And I walked up to her and said, oh, can I borrow £1?
Yeah.
Can I borrow like $1? And about, she gave me $1 and I went to play on the game or something. And she said to me later on, why did you ask me for that? I said, well, because you look really rich and you looked awesome. So I thought you might be nice to me. And I dropped her home that night and we were really great. But my God, I was so besotted by her that I ran away with her. You know, she could have literally asked me to do anything and I would have virtually done it.
Yeah.
And when I moved back, she moved back. I think we moved back at the same time. It's quite a long story. It's in my book, actually. But I took an overdose and everything when I found out that she didn't want to be with me anymore.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, my whole life was ruined.
Yeah.
Took an
Yeah.
overdose, ended up in hospital. So it went from like this wonderful, amazing thing to the most biggest disaster in my life
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
time.
You
So
know, it's
that's why.
funny that you say that though, because if I look back on all the relationships where I was like really just totally all in, super into it, really moving too fast, just jumping in, those were all the worst disasters. All of them.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't look at it as a disaster now.
Yeah.
At the time, it
Oh
was.
yeah. Yeah.
When you every single split up is a disaster at the time.
Yeah.
I'm one of these ones. People leave me.
Yeah.
People leave me. So yeah, I want a bit of violin here. When we edit this, we can put a bit of
It
violin.
goes both ways for me.
No, oh, you're a dumper, are you? No,
Sometimes.
I'm the one that gets dumped.
But you know, it used to be the opposite. When I was first getting started with relationships, I was the one getting dumped. Now I'm the one doing the dumping because I have a very clear idea of who I am, and this took years to figure out.
Mm.
Because I figured out, I'm having all these bad relationships. There's something about me that's creating this reality.
Yeah.
Like there's some reason I'm attracting all these certain types of people. And I looked at myself, spent a lot of time figuring out who I was, what I wanted, um, and then improving myself. And so now relationships are so much easier. And I'm the one that's being picky and doing the dumping.
I'm just wondering where I'm to. I have no idea where I'm to at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened next with you? That was your first puppy love.
That's
That
my
was
first. My next big one, there was a guy in college that I dated for a long time, and we lived together for a year. And like at this point, I can look back on this experience and see the warning signs that it was doomed. But at the time, I couldn't see them. I had very little experience.
yeah.
And looking back on it, we were having a lot of problems because he was shutting me out and pushing me away and not spending time with me. And I pretty much didn't exist. I was going out with my friends. I was going out and having a life. And like the writing was on the walls, but I was, turning a blind eye. I thought I was going to marry this guy. There it is again. And he graduated and took a job like halfway across the country. I moved with him like 750 miles from the only place I'd ever lived. And after a month, he broke up with me. And I was just like, everyone was like, oh, you can come home. You should come home. And I thought about it and I'm like, I was in this big, huge city, which was another shock. This was probably one of the best things I ever did. I decided to stay. I decided to give it a try. I could always
Right.
give up and go home. I didn't have a job. I hadn't finished college. I
How
didn't
old were
know
you?
anyone. And I was like 21. I was 21.
So how did you manage to go college? The other side of the
I went
country?
back later in life. I went back when I got married and finished my degree. And then when I got divorced, I went back again and got my master's degree.
So you give up college for him and everything at that point.
I did, yeah. And I was paying the bills and working, and he was trying to finish. And yeah,
You
but
might be able to hear my little bounty in the background.
I learned a lot, and I'll never regret it because it made me leave and go somewhere else and start over. And that was really important to me. So,
Just trying to think about where I'm to now. About the honeymoon and the first 3 months of a honeymoon of relationships.
mm-hmm.
Like we think that's love and we think that's all great. And I think back to every one of my relationships, every single time, the first 3, 6, 12 months or whatever, how long it lasted for each one. That's what I thought it was going to be for the rest of my life. That thought,
Yeah.
every single one of them. And what was my next one? What happened? Well,
Yeah,
I
see, that's one of the shifts in thinking that I've made over all my experiences is not thinking this is the end all be all. This person has to be perfect. It has to work out. I- My relationships now are so much easier because I don't put all that pressure on myself or the other person.
yeah, and the first 3 months is just a great roller coaster ride. Have it as that. That's not love.
No, yeah, it takes
Um, you
minimum
know,
3 months to start seeing the real person.
I'm not sure who said it. Love is blind. No, lust, and the first 3 months is blind. Endorphins
Oh
make you
yeah.
blind.
Love
No,
is wide open.
that's not love. Forget the movies. There's far too many
Yeah.
movies.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, what happened? See, that year when this person finished with me, that was, oh my God, that was a year of growth for me. And the end of that year, I broke my neck. So
Yeah.
it was it was a, not so sure it was a good or bad year, but it was certainly an eventful year.
Yeah.
And I begged her back.
Yeah.
Luckily, she didn't. So the gift she gave me of not coming back, because that would have
Mhm.
prolonged my suffering.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
she did come and see me in hospital, and she did probably because she thought I was going to die, maybe.
Oh.
But she did come and see me, and luckily she did not. I wanted her to promise me the rest of my life, happily bliss,
Yeah.
and she didn't promise that, which is good in the long run. But what happened? I come out of hospital, and I thought I was going to be single forever because who wants to date someone in a wheelchair and someone? So I thought I was going to be single forever, and then I started seeing a friend that was from school, which I
Uh-huh.
think I went out with at school. One of these ones that I went out with but never really spoke to.
Yeah.
I went out of her for about 2, 3 years, maybe, or 12 months. I don't know. But that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad to say about it. Nothing good. No, lots good, but nothing really bad. Nothing significant. We
Yeah.
finished. That was difficult. Then I dated somebody else about 3 years later, and that was good. We're friends now. That was
Awesome.
she
Yeah.
moved halfway across the country to get rid of me and get away from me. But and then the next one was, Kembra's mum,
Mhm.
and that was really good. She moved down from up country to be with me,
Mhm.
about a 2.5 hour drive, and we didn't go into that lightly because there was a few complications at the time.
Yeah.
She just found herself single and things like that, and there's different stories involved there, but
Yeah.
that's irrelevant to this. And she had a 4-year-old daughter. And
Yeah.
I'm very much, if you commit to that person, you take whatever comes with them.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And so it was a decision for me and decision for her to move down here. And we spent 11, 12 years together, and it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. The best part of Canberra's growing up. And yeah, that's my long-term relationship.
Yeah.
The good thing with that one is we stayed together for so long, and she would have to answer for herself, and I cannot answer for her. But for me, we used to communicate.
Yeah.
And when it started to get a bit boring or a bit sour, as it will,
Mm-hmm.
we changed things up. We did change things during the relationship.
Yeah.
We didn't all this stay the same, and we did grow relatively alongside each other.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how that worked.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, it's really like even if a relationship doesn't work out, if you're both growing from it, I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah. Um, that ended with her cheating on me for about 6 months. That was particularly difficult.
Yeah.
Um, she moved out. The day I found that out properly, I suspected it for a while, but
Mm-hmm.
I was made out to be the idiot. You know,
Yeah.
don't be so stupid. And then she come home one day and it got obvious, and I just looked at her straight and said, "You know what? Are you seeing somebody else?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Is it serious?" Is you know, knowing what the question was really, and
Yeah.
she said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, you can stay tonight and move out tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it now and think, "Oh my God, who the hell was I?"
Yeah.
You stay tonight and get out tomorrow. But that's the way I felt. But that relationship, without me realizing it, had come to a natural end
Yeah. Yeah.
before that happened. So it's not all on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the way to end a relationship, but
Yeah. See, that's what I meant before. Like when I look back on all my relationships, I can see where it was naturally ending. There were signs there. We just, I didn't know how to do that.
yeah.
I didn't know how to recognize that.
And I got to be honest, like you put yourself in her shoes now.
Yeah.
She's living down here. She's seeing somebody else. Now then, to the outside world, this person is cheating on her disabled partner at home.
Mm-hmm.
And, to the outside world, she must have been really, you know, I don't know, vilified or whatever, but it couldn't have been easy for her.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. People forget that, in every situation, even cheating, everyone has responsibility for the outcome.
Yeah.
Like it didn't just happen in a box, in a vacuum.
It's really important what you say there, actually. And,
Yeah.
and I know this will probably be controversial, but I played a part in her cheating.
Yeah.
I did play a part. Now, then, her decision to cheat was wrong. I'm not
Right. She
saying
still made the
you should
decision.
cheat.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is the relationship had come to a natural end. And if I wasn't so wrapped up in myself and
Yeah.
what I wanted from the relationship,
Yeah.
perhaps it would not have ended in the way it did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I have the balls to admit that now.
Yeah. Cheating is such a tricky subject because I mean when you think about it, is it really the cheating that hurts you or is it the dishonesty, the being lied to, feeling like you were betrayed?
It's interesting because when you say that, I say no, not really.
Yeah.
There is those things, but for a guy's point of view,
Mhm.
it's sexually.
Yeah.
It's that male macho,
Yeah.
the base chakra kind of thinking.
Yeah.
She's mine, and I'm. So whenever I think of cheating, it naturally goes to the sexual side.
Yeah.
And of course, at that point I had to deal with. I don't say this publicly. I don't know if I've ever said this to people, but I had to deal with my masculinity, being a man, but being in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, sex for me is possible,
Mhm.
but it's not easy. It's not, um, foreplay is 20 minutes getting my jumper off
Yeah.
for me. It's, spontaneity is out the window, and
Yeah.
you've got to have a real understanding, and you've got to have a real, and yes, we know sexually is more than in the genitals, is in the head.
Oh yeah,
Well,
because
sometimes it is just in the genitals and that side of the sets because I don't feel anything down there. I
yeah,
had to really deal with that. How could I deal with
yeah.
this girl that loved me?
See, I don't think it is just that simple because, I mean, like, so the next person that I was a big love of my life that kind of like came into play right after the last one I mentioned. Well, kind of before that actually. He ended up being a lifelong friend, and we would get together and take a break and get together and take a break. He ended up getting married. He ended my last year of my actual marriage. I was married for technically 11 years. The last year of my marriage, I knew I was done. I could tell he was done. And this old friend who had been the one that got away reached out to me, and I was messaging him, and I was getting emotionally attached to him. I didn't physically see him, I didn't physically touch him, but how is that any less dishonest and cheating to have an emotional affair?
Can you hear Bounty making all this noise?
No, I can't hear him.
That's good. No, but I'm glad we're talking about this
Yeah.
because it's not as simple as someone cheating.
No, it's
It
not.
does leave an aftermath, and you cannot always just single out this one single person for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You have to admit to your part in it,
Yeah. Yep.
and that's part of the growth process. That's part of the
Yeah.
dealing process.
Yeah.
Look at the karma. Look at their karma. Fair enough, but look at the karma that you brought upon it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like my ex-husband was definitely cheating. He was going on business trips. They weren't really business trips. So he was out there physically cheating on me. But I've never been angry. Even when I first found out, I've never been angry about it because I can look at our relationship and see how we're both responsible for not being happy. He wasn't being the friend that I wanted. I wasn't giving him the physical attention that he wanted.
Yeah,
And we weren't talking about it.
that's
Communication
a
is one
huge one.
topic we will discuss in much more
Oh,
detail because
we're gonna
that's
go
where
back
I
to
want.
communication all the way through this season of
Oh
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
This podcast is going to be 10 episodes, and then we're going to
Mhm.
take a month break, and we're going to come back to a different subject. But this whole 10 episodes, we're going to talk about a different aspect of relationships,
Yeah,
and we're going to bear all in our stories of relationships. So maybe we'll revisit this. How do we deal with the cheating again? Because it's so freaking hard to deal with it.
yeah.
And from a man's point of view, dealing with the inadequacies,
Hmm.
because that's from the man's point of view.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that was really hard.
Wait, you don't think it feels the same for women?
I don't know. I'm not a
It
woman.
does. It does. It does.
Well, tell me about that then. Tell me about it. If I tell you from my perspective, and then share from yours, because I'm really interested now, actually.
Yeah, I've been cheated on a lot. For me, a lot of it's what I already said, that feeling of dishonesty and betrayal. But it also makes you feel super insecure as a woman, which is pretty much what you're talking about, insecurities. Um, like, why am I not good enough? Why am I not pretty enough? Why does he need it somewhere else? Stuff like that. That's really common for women to think that way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I suppose it's kind of obvious when I think about it. But
Yeah.
I've never considered during that situation. I suppose I got so wrapped up into my battle during that situation that I've never
Yeah.
considered it.
Yeah. Like it took me a year before I was ready to start dating again. And even then, I was not confident. My standards were low. I was making poor choices. And it was all crash and burn, crash and burn until I really started focusing on myself and, building my confidence and facing my fears and getting good at doing relationship.
I,
Like I actually studied how to get good at relationship.
you picked up Relationships 101 book,
Yeah, yeah,
Relationships for
yeah.
Dummies.
Oh no, I started learning about myself. I read about personality types. I read about um you know, all sorts of different things to learn about myself so I could figure out what I really wanted. Because that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing that makes it easier is if you go into it knowing exactly what you want, you can easily see when it's not what you want.
I'd done a course on relationships, successful relationship.
Yeah.
Um, Keith Witt, and in that course, he shares the 5 things you need for a successful relationship. And hey, can we do that on one of the podcasts? The 5 things you need for a
Oh, yeah,
successful
yeah.
relationship.
Definitely.
Okay, that'll be podcast 3. Can you make a note of that? Executive decision here.
Yeah.
Podcast 3, because next podcast we're talking about relationship, communication,
Communication. Yeah.
and then 3. Um, I hate to keep going back to this topic, but it's really the split ups that are the life changing times in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I cannot say I made any mistakes because all of them are on my Facebook and they may be listening to this podcast, and they all live locally, and I don't lock my door at night. So I've got to say none of them were a mistake at the time, and
Right.
that's honest. When I come after Emma had done that, I started talking to an old friend from school, and this friend gave me the most wonderful, amazing gift of my breakdown,
Yeah.
my rock bottom. It wasn't intended, but she relieved. I had all this pain going on with being cheated on,
Mm-hmm.
this inner battle of non-worthiness and everything. It's funny, I thought I was the only one at that time. Really? 7 billion people and I was the only one that got hurt like that?
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for telling me there was 2 of us.
Yeah.
But I then started seeing, and that got rid of my pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So therefore, I seen this person as something incredibly special. I put them on the pedestal. They relieved my pain. They made me feel great.
Yeah.
And I dated her for about 18 months. And do you know the song by Pink and the other guy where he says, everything was, he says, well, I thought everything was fine. And she goes, you know that song?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was what it was like in that. I suddenly got a text one day that said, I don't know what I want. I was like, what? It's
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Yeah.
And it was over by tea time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say it sounds like it wasn't balanced. Like you were getting what you needed, but what did she need?
Well, it was just to me as a guy in the thing. I thought I was providing everything she needed. Never even considered it. It was just everything was rosy.
Yeah.
We never argued. Everything was. I
Yeah.
don't think. Yeah, probably we did argue.
But she's just as responsible for not telling you what her needs were, you know?
Well, she split up in the most perfect way.
Oh, awesome.
And that was, I don't know what I want anymore.
Yeah.
It's not you I want, and break all communications.
Oh, yeah. 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 Honest and
Um,
clean.
we're going to do a show on how to split up. Surely we
We
need to do
should
that.
actually, because I've got a lot of practice at that. I've
Yeah.
learned
How do we split up without creating as less suffering as possible?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Because I have this feeling that whenever people want to split up, they kind of want to hurt and all that, but they don't.
No.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we split up. That was my rock bottom. And here I am today. I had a few relationships, and I'm quite different today. I'm a lot,
Oh, yeah. Me
you know.
too. Yeah. And I don't look back on regret, even the worst relationship I had. I dated another guy in college who turned out to be very abusive. He put me in the hospital a couple of times, and I hit my own rock bottom going through that. And what came out was a stronger version of me who was willing to not just stand up for myself, but to stand up for other people as well. So how can I regret that?
I don't know.
You know, I don't believe in regrets. I really don't.
I got a few things I regret.
Yeah.
There's a few things I regret not doing as opposed to doing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I was going to say women then. A
My
few
regrets are
regrets in things women
definitely,
that I didn't.
yeah.
So Tell us about, because your long-term relationship. We haven't got to that yet.
My marriage.
Yeah, I want to know about your marriage. Where did you meet? I want to know about the romantic. How did he propose?
Okay. Um. Well, we met in Atlanta. He was my first landlord, and I was his first tenant, and we lived in a duplex on opposite sides of each other. And we just kind of naturally started spending time together, and it did move very quickly. And I remember him. I lost my roommate. My roommate moved out, and he's like, "Just come over here and stay with me." And I was hesitant. I felt like I was moving too fast, but I went with it. And I just kind of went along and let him kind of pull me through. And it wasn't until years later that I realized he was actually a really controlling person. And when he met me, he fell in love with me because I was independent and had lots of personality and was doing all this cool stuff. And halfway through our marriage, I had no friends left and I wasn't doing anything except whatever he thought I needed to do to be productive every day. I'm pretty sure he was a little OCD. Pretty sure. Like I would come home and he would know what I ate for lunch, what I had to drink, what I did, because he could tell that things had been moved, um, or that there was less in there. It was kind of creepy, but I don't know. I was the blind eye thing again. I was like, oh, finally, I found the one I'm going to marry. Like, I'm finally going to have everything I want. Like, because by then I was 23, which feels very young now. But at the time, I thought, I'm getting too old. I haven't met anyone yet. But I didn't know myself at all. Had no idea what I really wanted. So I just kind of accepted what I got. And we had our daughter 3 years later. She was a surprise, but the best surprise of my life ever. And then we just spent many, many years just kind of going through the motions of life. Like we were unhappy for most of our marriage, really, but we weren't fighting. We weren't yelling at each other. We weren't like talking to each other. We were just kind of zombies. I compare it to feeling like a zombie in my life.
Hmm.
And then one day I started to realize, this wasn't what I wanted, and that's when my personal journey started about a year before I left. Um,
So how did
he
he propose? You missed that
How
bit.
did he propose? There really wasn't much of a proposal, honestly. We were just like laying in bed, and he was talking about getting married, and then we went and got a ring. But how we got married was really cool. We were planning to be engaged for like 6 months, and we were planning to go to Europe, and he had someone lined up to marry us over there. And then that fell through. So then we were like, we're gonna go get married on the beach. And then like I noticed, none of our family or friends were like supportive of the whole thing. So we just one night we were out drinking in a bar, dancing, and we were just like, you know what? Forget all these people. This is for us. Let's just jump on a plane and go to Vegas and get married. And that's what we did.
And that's where you got married,
We got married in Vegas.
in an Elvis costume.
No. Actually, we picked like a waterfall outside so it would look really natural. And we
Oh,
bought
cool.
a
So it was
dress
a
and wore.
genuine one. It wasn't a themed one.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
Oh, boring. I
corny or
thought you were going to say
anything.
you were some kind of
But I always
mermaid.
regretted not having like a big wedding reception party,
Have you?
with all my
Well, should we have one on the season 4?
wedding
I'm still
party.
waiting for the dates. This is
I'll
all.
be honest, I'm very cynical about marriage now.
Oh,
Like,
okay. I'll take that as a no.
like
That's all
I'm
right.
not opposed to it, but I
That's
know
okay.
it's something I will never walk blindly into ever again.
Folks, this is the last episode of this podcast. We're not going to be doing it anymore.
I don't know. I'm just,
It's interesting you say about the zombie years,
yeah,
because I think every relationship, and I'm going back to my long-term one now. I say with Emma because we're great friends now. And we say we should be. We got a daughter, although it's a
yeah,
stepdaughter,
absolutely.
And there was times when we were a zombie in the relationship,
Hmm.
and at those points, you got to recognize it and go, "Hey, let's do
Change.
something different.
Yeah, yeah,
Find somewhere else to eat. Sit down and go, what are you missing?
yeah,
And listen."
yeah, yeah.
You just give me another great idea for another podcast.
But see, that's the thing. Like before I got divorced, I was very against divorce. I grew up in a very Catholic household, and divorce was a big no-no. And I grew up thinking, that's what I believed. And when I got into a marriage with someone who wasn't willing to, didn't care about working on the marriage, because it takes both people, I realized that, you know, you have to give up if the other person gives up. I mean, that's,
You have to some degree, but that does remind me of. I presume you heard of Margaret Thatcher,
yes.
the Iron Lady. Not that she's my politics or anything like that, but I have to admire her and Dennis Thatcher.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed together. They were together something like 68 years or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Mm.
And a very strong woman, he was an independent guy and all that. And he was asked a question, how have you stayed together all this time?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he gave the most romantic, wonderful, amazing wisdom answer that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And he said, we never fell out of love with each other at the same time.
Nice. I like that.
I just think that's just what a beautiful way of looking at it. Because there is times when one of you are not feeling it.
Yeah.
One of you are going through cycles. Men go through cycles too, and you get the itches and you get the other things. You get colleagues pulling you too far. So, and that's the time when the other person so wants to pull away. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what? If they're
Mm-hmm.
pulling away from me, I'm going to pull away.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
But that's
yeah.
the time when you've got to lean in and take
Yeah.
up the love for your pair.
Yeah, that's something I've really recently started like doing with my current relationship. Like in
Yeah,
the past, I would always run away in the past, and same with him. And we've even had discussions about how we both do that, and we both don't want to do that to each other. And so we're
yeah.
pushing each other to step forward when the other person, backs away.
If that person's running so fast and you're stepping forward, can't catch them, hey, at some point you got to
Yeah,
stop
right.
running. But in general, it will always be a thing. We ought to do a podcast on how do we get back to love during the zombie years.
Yeah.
It's going to be like
I think we
20.
came up with an idea like that already. That's just a much catchier way to put it. I like it.
So, so where are you two now? Where am I to now? Where am I to now? That's very Cornish. Two people have said to me recently that I'm emotionally closed off. And that's been a koan for me for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Where am I to relationship wise at the moment? I am just really content with where I'm to in life.
Yeah, that's good.
But that doesn't mean that I'm going, oh, I don't want a relationship. Yes, I want a relationship. Yes, I want to go to bed and cuddle someone at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not needing that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good.
I'm not missing it, but I do desire it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and that's just where I'm to. I'm just happy with that.
that's a really, really good place to be.
Um, but I don't feel I'm closed off. I don't feel I'm avoiding anything.
Yeah,
I have some really close people around me in my life that I absolutely love them.
yeah,
And I feel loved by them.
yeah.
And I feel more loved by them than I ever have really in a relationship, as sad as that is to say.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Um, it's a different love. But it's a love that I can actually say anything
Yeah,
and not have to worry about whether I said the wrong thing.
yeah, yep.
And that's what we've always looked for, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's like what I was saying in the beginning. You're getting loved in intimate relationships. They're not necessarily romantic relationships, but that's the driving force behind why we want that stuff. We want that
Yeah.
connection with other people. There's a lot of ways to get that connection.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in an absolute intimate way like that. And there is the animal needs.
Yeah.
We might go there a little bit more in the later podcast. but they can be dealt with in other ways. And also, yeah, but it doesn't mean some kind of flippant way about relationships, like just moving from one to another and not doing
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm content,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Well, the thing is the best way to, if you really want a relationship, the best way to have a great relationship is not to look for it or chase it or try to find it or try to make it happen. It's to attract a good relationship by being the kind of person that you want to come to you.
Ooh, you know what I'm going to say?
What?
We should do that as a podcast.
I should have seen that one coming.
I'm so glad we did this chat as the first episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
Because,
because this is making me rethink some of our topics.
yeah, these topics are awesome because this is what relationships are about. And
Mm-hmm.
just talking about them just reminds me of the great times, the troubling times,
Mm-hmm.
the things. It's funny because relationships are a new thing, evolutionary.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, relationships only date back, we think, to maximum 60 to 70,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But they probably are even less than that, probably
Oh,
more like
much less.
13,000
Yeah. Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just quite interesting. So we grow up thinking we need this relationship to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we don't. We just need, like you say, connections
Yeah.
to feel love, to feel. And what is love? Security,
Yeah.
understanding,
Yeah.
listened to,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
cared about.
Yeah.
So if you want all those things in life, give them.
Exactly. Exactly. If you want unconditional love, you've got to give it. You've got to completely accept someone the way they are, not
Yeah.
try to change them. That's really big. If you want trust, you have to trust them, not worry that they're going to be like the last guy. You have to give them a chance.
Yeah. So
All of those things you want, you have to give to the other person.
so is it truly possible to be happy with somebody and give them unconditional love no matter what they do?
That's a really
Interesting.
tricky question. That's the thing though. I think that you can still love someone and not agree with something that they do. Unconditional love doesn't mean that you're automatically okay with everything. You can never get mad at them. You can never think they did anything wrong. That's not what it means. It just means that you're going to love them through it. If they want to work it out, you're going to work it out. You still respect them as a person. You still care about their feelings, and you're going to give them their own space to grow.
It makes me think in the way of, if you did unconditionally love someone and they had a thought or an idea or doing something that you disagreed with, you would still love them because that's what they want.
Yeah.
It might not be what you want, but if you do unconditionally love them, it's what they want, and you would love them in the face of that anyway, even
Oh,
if it
yeah.
hurt.
Yeah. And that's part, I think, of unconditionally loving someone. If you truly unconditionally love someone and you see that it is not going to work out because of said thing,
Mm.
you are loving them by letting them go.
Mother Teresa, love is an open wound that never heals.
Hmm.
So if you
You're
want to
you're
truly
loving
love
them by
someone,
wanting them to be happy and letting them find that somewhere else.
you are risking pain. Every time you love, you are risking pain.
Yeah.
But that is genuine love. It's not, I love you as long as you don't hurt me.
Yeah.
And I recognize that in most of my life.
Yeah.
And I recognize that still in my life now. That still crops up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that could be why I'm single. Maybe there's a bit still there. I'm not ignorant enough to think that I'm not closed off in some respects.
Yeah.
Bounty. He's chewing his foot. I
I
don't know if you
can't
can
even
hear
hear
him
it. No,
slobbering.
it's only bothering you.
No, I always think you can hear it, and I just want to make sure that
Nope.
you
I
know it's
can't.
chewing his foot.
Okay, listen up, listeners. We have a dog on the premises. Ignore all doggy sounds.
Yeah, we love him really.
We do.
So that's what this season is going to be about, is revisiting this, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of things, relationships. Can you leave comments to what you want us to discuss or answer? Ask us questions about relationships.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're going through something at the moment. You can leave it anonymous or whatever, but say it's for a friend, whatever. But yeah, ask us, and maybe we can help. Maybe we can just discuss it.
Yeah, because we're here doing this particular season because we wanted to help people have better relationships. We're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about unconditional love, triggers, making up after you fall out from each other,
Yeah.
trust and respect, jealousy. We're going to cover everything we can think of that could possibly help you have
Yeah.
stronger relationships.
And it's going to help us as well. We're doing it because we're going
Absolutely.
through this, and we'll be learning through this process as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because I've spent a lot of time learning what not to do and what is wrong. And I'm at a point in
Yeah.
my life now where I'm trying to implement, oopsie, sorry about that. Trying to implement everything I've learned in a positive way and actually that's going to be one of my goals. So one of my 5-year goals, we sat down and came up with goals recently. One of my 5-year goals was I want to be sharing my life and living with my significant other. And I thought about that and I was like, well, how do I do that? Well, honestly, just strengthening my relationships, strengthening all my relationships, really focusing on building my relationships.
Do
So yeah,
you?
I'm going to do
It's
that all
funny.
year.
It's funny because that's one of my goals as well. And in 5 years' time, that's the stretching goal, to build my own house, to have a house that's adapted more for me,
Mm-hmm.
and to be living in that house in a relationship with a very free, open-minded,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual partner.
Yeah.
Someone who's very accepting and very thing. And I've got
Yeah.
images in my mind, and I go to bed every night thinking about it, and in the morning thinking about it,
Yeah.
because I want to manifest that.
Yeah. But as far as action goes, what's the best way to do that? Work on yourself. Be the partner that you
Yes.
want. Be the person that you want. Be the relationship that you
Oh
want.
yeah.
Get your life in order. Become the catch that you're looking for.
I love that. Be the partner you want.
Yeah. Be the partner you want.
Thank you. That just, how simple can it be? But that's what it is.
Yeah. It really is.
We very often want someone to bring to us what we are lacking or what
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not giving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, they complete me. That's not the way it
Yes.
should work.
No, it's that we should be complete and sitting on the
Yeah.
same side of the table, looking out the same window.
Oh,
Love's
yeah.
not about staring at each other. Love is
Yeah.
about staring in the same direction.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel very, very strongly that in a relationship, each person needs to be their own independent person that's working on themselves and growing themselves who support each other's growth, not
Yeah.
make that growth happen. Support each other.
Yeah. So where can our listeners, and let us know if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Give us a review. Tell us what we're doing good, what we're doing bad, what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. Just in
Yeah.
the comments. You can catch us on Patreon if you want to support us, if you want to give us a donation each month. And you can also see the videos now over there. You get a few extra things.
Yeah.
So
And
you can,
actually, we're going to release now last season's behind the scenes videos. So,
we're going to put them on YouTube and Facebook, aren't we?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and it won't be long before we're on Spotify. We're already on iTunes. We're on Anchor. We're on a few other things. We're just getting ourselves out everywhere. And the more listeners we got, the more comments we get, the more feedback we get, guys, the easier it'll be for us to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for still being here at the end of it. I can't wait for this season, Susan. It's gonna be so good.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited.
So thanks, guys. Till next week. Remember, we release a podcast every Monday morning. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you, wait for Monday for us.
Yeah. Check it out. Check it
Take
out.
care, guys.